Sponges, Dominos, butterflies. He started as Nike's first ever design intern in the 1990s. He's designed sneakers alongside icons like Serena Williams, LeBron James, and Charles Barkley. You might be tempted to call him a designer, but in truth, Aaron Cooper is a storyteller. Because after all, in Coop's words, it's the stories that matter. I hope you all enjoy this episode of B-Scar TV with our very special guest, Aaron Cooper.
When you ran your sub 60, were you in a uniform? Did you have?
I would say, yeah, full body suit.
Did you have the full body?
Yeah, hood.
Yeah.
No, I just had what I work out in.
Yeah.
But I did get spikes.
You got spikes?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
It was like it was like a little kid process looking for them, and I mean I was online, so different than when I was growing up, but
right.
But I looked online. I was kind of searching, what looked cool. Did a little bit of reviews, kind of what seemed like they would actually be functional, high performance, worth wearing, give me a little bit of an edge. And I saw these cleats that happened to be Nike. They looked really cool, innovative, like state of the art, cutting edge. Read the reviews. Sure enough, they were like talked about as like the best.
Okay.
So I was sold. Bought them, and I was all excited to get them in the mail.
Yeah.
Show up on the doorstep. I'm like, oh, they're here. Take them up to my office, undo the package, and then open them up, and it was like back to when I was like 10.
Oh man. Oh man.
I mean, I did everything but smell them,
Yeah, right.
like the materials, the like everything. And I was like, oh, I got it. Like now you want to put them on, but they're spikes. Like what I'm going to do, put them on in my house and there.
Yeah.
But I wanted to like run down the hallway, when I was growing up, like at the store and buy them, like you just wouldn't, Foot Locker or something, you just run up and down the store and you're like, oh yeah, these are the ones.
Get the basketball shoes, like make sure they squeak.
Jump higher, like, yeah, exactly. And so when I took him to the track at Grant High School, put him on, and you're like, okay,
yeah,
and he's like, it gives you that, Kobe used to say it. Well, he said it in our first meeting. Hey, look good, feel good, play good. Just give me something that looks good. And he then became a big convert in terms of truly believing in the millimeters. And my whole saying is the millimeters matter.
Right.
So those spikes gave me that. I think certainly I do believe in the lab and what the industry can do for augmentation, and so I do think they gave me a little bit of a performance edge, but for sure a psychological. I mean, I felt the snap, I felt the bounce, I felt I wasn't even you didn't have to move it, and all of a sudden you're like.
Yeah.
It's like when you get suited up, right? Like
right.
You kind of, it's that transformation we talked about a lot with athletes, and I would go through it in my different parts of my career, and it'd be fun to hear from you. But like, you drive to the stadium, you're starting to kind of mentally kind of prepare, and then that process of then suiting up and what you do in that and during that time before you even get to the tunnel. And then there's the tunnel transformation, and the first time you get out to the field. And it's interesting the difference between high school, college, and pro.
Yeah.
So I've talked to a lot of athletes about, because I've had relationships with athletes all the way through. I'd love to hear your...
Well, I think what makes that moment so special is all the work that you did leading up to actually putting those spikes on. Because that becomes the reward in itself. It's like, damn, I'm here.
Yeah.
It's like when you go in the locker room and you put the game jersey on for the first time, and you've been busting your ass all off season, all training camp. Okay, game one, regular season. This is what I've trained for. We're here now.
Yes.
That it becomes the reward in itself.
Yeah, I didn't even think
the
about
fresh spikes. You only put the spike. You have the race socks.
I never even worn them before. I never worn spikes in my life.
This first time with spikes, period? Bro, yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
You have a good point.
I envy that you got that experience so recently.
Yeah, at 54. Yeah. Like that's another thing about why, like the sub 60, like when is the last time you did something for the first time? When is the last
Yeah.
time you did something
For the first
time?
Mm-hmm.
And we get into these routines, our daily routines. People, whenever I do any mentoring or helping people at work get out of, like these ruts they're in, like park your car somewhere else.
Mm.
When you get to work, park your car somewhere else.
Yeah.
And, walk from the other side of the street or walk from just take a different route. Amazing what you'll see.
Yeah.
Amazing what you'll experience, just that little bit of
Right.
I mean, take yourself out of the rut. They call it the rut because you keep going around that same
thing.
Like, you look at the wood floors of your house. I mean, there's a track that people take, right?
Right.
You look at a university and through the grass and like you can see where the students walk, whether or not there's concrete there or not. That's the path. So if you want to get out of a rut, do something else.
Yeah. Could be simple as like putting a wristwatch on your other wrist.
Anything.
Right?
Just shake, just a little tweak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. So I kept abreast of your training process because my dad was helping to train you, coach you through the process to go sub 60-second 400 meters, which for those who don't know, that's a really impressive feat, regardless of what age you are. Bro, yeah. For me, like, I think maybe my PR back in high school was maybe a 53 hand time. But like now, if I go up to the track and I'm training and maybe doing 400 repeats, I'm around 75 seconds. You know what I mean? Just like training, which I'm sure you did a lot of that. And so sub 60, and you gave yourself, was it 8 weeks?
Ended up being 6.
Ended up being 6, but you had an 8-week window. That was like the goal.
That was, but it got after the second week, some life gets in the way.
Okay.
Right. So
so you shortened it.
Yeah. And I shortened it and I went through the process, which a lot of people do. And dude, what's cool is, wherever you do, you should check out, so someone on Instagram that I met on Instagram, he's got a huge following, just posted his cause I kept on telling people like, what's your sub 60?
Somebody ran the sub 60 with you?
No, it was, his sub 60 was this swimming goal that he had done and he achieved, he did it. And he just posted about it today. And he put my whole name, and that's what was my whole thing. I was like,
that was inspired by your,
it was a literal sub 60 for me.
Yes.
But someone else's sub 60 can be anything, right? And it doesn't have to be crazy. Like your sub 60 could be, 7 days straight of walking around the block after dinner.
Yeah.
Like that could be a big feat for somebody. Like it took me 6 weeks to train for that.
Mm-hmm.
It could take someone, 6 weeks to prep, mentally just prepare and get ready and to do those things, to be able to walk, to get out of the house for the first time. Like, what is your sub 60?
What did you end up PRing?
57 flat.
57 flat. Congratulations, man. It's impressive.
So I did 59 after the 5th week. And it was funny, your dad, because you get their adrenaline going and and I can't, there was a football practice going on at the track we were at when I did the first 400, and I came out a little hot, I think. And in the video, then your dad's yelling at me, but I couldn't hear him,
Yeah.
Just, I think your dad's like, hey, that's enough. Like, slow down.
Right.
And I just I felt good. And I always knew about the, apparently the monkey that jumps on your back.
Oh yeah. Sometimes
I'm coming around that back turn. I'm like, I feel good. Like I feel strong. Like, fuck that monkey. Like you're not getting on my back. And then all of a sudden I feel someone tapping me on the shoulder. I'm like, you're not getting on, dude. And I made it probably about with 20 yards to go, 20 meters to go, maybe 10 meters, like within that window. And I started, feeling like something was pulling me back.
Yeah. It's all arms at that point.
Yeah, and your dad told me, and so I'm doing all that. I'm your dad's talking to me in my head. And I felt okay, but I didn't feel like, it didn't feel great. Like I didn't, and so your dad was like, what do you think you're in? I'm like, and the only other comparison I had was, before I'd did one on my own, and it was like a 64 or something. And it was like around, I'm like, I don't know. Like it wasn't even that good, like maybe a 65, 70, I don't know.
Yeah.
And your dad kind of chuckles and he shows me the stopwatch, and it was 59. And I'm like, no way. And then gave him a big, like, it felt so good. Plus the fact that now the pressure was off.
Yeah.
I already broke it.
Right.
So now I had 1 more week left. Let's see whatever I can do.
Yeah.
And that's when I kicked in on the recovery piece and started doing contrast therapy. And she would, just have
sauna and ice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a weird little spot on Williams.
Yeah. Right over by Polar Cafe.
Yeah.
Polar Cafe is delicious.
It is good.
Yeah.
Nutrition, another important piece.
I think it's really cool that, one, the way that you documented that sub 60 process and how you were taking pictures of the track for every week. Like it was a cool creative process that you went through. And now to hear that your other followers and folks who were following along with the story had now pursued their own sub 60, and you're inspiring people to, pursue a greater version of themselves, which not oddly enough, why you're here, right? It's because the B-Scar TV podcast is all about inspiring people through the stories and experiences and journeys of guests. And so I want to dig in with just the first question around, you're inspiring people now with the sub 60 philosophy, but what is inspiring you lately? Like what inspired that sub 60 philosophy in the first place? And this could be like over a lifetime of just thinking about like something, an inspiration that follows you, or maybe even more recently.
We could take, well, first to kind of off of kind of the physical piece. When I'm in the CrossFit gym that I work out at, sometimes I can get after it there too. And people ask me like, what are you training for?
Right.
Well, like, dang, what are you, like I get into it. Cause I figured like once you're there, give it your best. Right.
Yeah.
And so people have sometimes asked me, and it seems, I don't know, some people laugh, my family probably the most, but honestly, I am training because I never let my kids, I have 3 kids, them. So 26-year-old son, 22-year-old daughter, and the 23-year-old daughter and 28-year-old daughter. And I never let them beat me in anything, ever.
Respect.
Like until they could, and now they can at many things, but I'll still go after them like,
yeah, right.
And so I want to be I want to be an active grandparent. I'm not in a rush, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And I want to be active. I don't want to be a grandparent that's, and I don't want to be just playing with them, playing Legos or doing all. I want to do that and be out the driveway shooting hoops with them, catching throwing baseballs. If I have the opportunity to coach one of them, I want to be able to do that. And more than that, I want to be able to do that when they're in high school. And more than that, I want to be able to compete against them. I don't want my grandkids to beat me at anything until they can. And I'm like,
they got to
honored it. Yeah, they got to earn it. And my goal is high school.
Okay.
That's my goal. So my goal is like, if I hear any one of my kids, grandkids, or their friends, like, damn, your grandpa's like a badass.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, it's all worth it.
Right.
And then I figured like, and that's what I love in life. Like this isn't something like somebody acute, like it was actually like an accusation from this person I just met. I was at a pool, so I didn't have a shirt on, and, I was even leaner then, like single digit body fat, and I'm about now, but this person was like, oh, wow, what do you do? And I had a hat on and sunglasses, so you couldn't really see much of my age.
Yeah.
And I was with someone that didn't have a hat and sunglasses on, and they are much younger. They're in their, I don't even know if they're 30 yet. So I think he was putting me in that context. And he was asking, oh, what do you do? And it kind of revealed at what age I was.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, so you kind of made this assumption that I'm not enjoying life.
Oh,
You know, like he's drinking and eating whatever he wants, and that's why the way he looks the way he looks.
right.
And he was in his 60s. Like, I remember when I was your age, you know, I could do whatever I wanted. And I'm like, and then my friend was like, do you know how old he is?
Okay.
And he was like, oh, well, then you must be sacrificing life.
Mm,
And I'm like, no, dude, like, this is my enjoyment.
right.
Like, I had key lime pie literally, I had key lime pie last night.
You're a key lime guy, huh?
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
And spumoni ice cream at lunch, but and I haven't worked out yet, but I'll do something today.
Right.
But it's like all the balance, you know, it's all there for me. And back to the idea of pursuit, like then just me personally and what I'm doing to pursue. And in my Instagram, one of my hashtags is pursue you. And that's, you know, that's what I try to suggest to others and inspire others to do. And then I do everything I can to practice what I preach. But I'm well aware that it's not easy.
Yeah.
So I put it on myself of like, you know, I can't just try to preach it. I do have to practice it. So I have, you know, I break it down in different areas for me to help it be able to kind of wrap my head around things and be able to, because you have to break things down, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, as an athlete, you have to break things down. You can't just, you know, sit down and eat the whole meal. You got to take bites, right?
Right. Right.
But ultimately, that's what it's in life. I'm trying to pursue my best self, and I'm still. What gets me up in the morning is I don't think I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Like I'm always trying to find what's my ceiling. That was the sub 60, and now 57. I actually looked into it. I was like, I'm curious what that is amongst people my age.
Yeah.
At nationals, you know,
Right.
TA track and field, you know, what was the national time? So I looked that up.
What was it?
I would have placed 6th
wow.
at nationals, and I'm like, okay, but I don't think. Even your dad was like, the way I handled myself on that, because I'd never done. That was my 3rd time I'd ever done it.
Yeah.
So I'm not used to it. I went too fast and whatever.
Right.
I think I could do. I think I could do 55.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Right.
Right. 57 could be it.
Mm.
Like that could be my ceiling, but I don't know. And in my curiosity, in my post about it, like my curiosity is bigger than.
Yeah.
Right. So my curiosity about, you know, how many people's lives can I make better as a designer, as a human being on this planet? That's, I believe, we're all here for. That's why I'm sitting here. Just, you know, do what I can to help you, to then help whoever your audience is. And
Right.
so I think that's what we're all here for. So, and my father was a preacher, my mom's social activist. So I think it's in my genetics.
Yeah.
And then I try to also, so it's in my nurturing, and I also try to, it was in my nature. And then it was also in my nurturing growing up, and now I'm also trying to nurture it myself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so just like how to constantly pursue that and how to help other people pursue their best self. And that's what keeps me driving. I don't think I'm far from finishing.
Yeah. And I think like the pursuit of your best self, I like that as an inspiration, like carrot, because it never really stops. You never really, you know, lose that, because how do you ever know? There's always a line that you continue to push. But you said something that it's curiosity. Inherently, that is curiosity, of being curious of how far can I really go? How far can I push my boundaries? You know, what I'm capable of. And I think that obviously curiosity is not just like physically and physical capabilities, but it also can pour into work and projects.
100%.
And one of you inspired me. I don't know if you know this, but we've talked about it. But when you brought me in at Nike, when I was coming into when I was training at Nike, and then I was coming over to your office, and we kind of set up like a 2-week internship.
Yeah.
And you were doing football cleat design, or like working with those teams. And the first day I came over to your office, and you introduced me to like all the designers that you were working with. And you guys were all on like this back wall. I just remember like desk by desk, and their shoes and stuff, like these legendary shoes. And you took me over to the computer, and you took me through the Shaquem Griffin deck. and the Fly Ease Cleats, I believe, the Fly Ease Cleats. And you showed me, it was the first time I ever seen like a mood board or like an inspo board. And you showed me like, these are the cleats. This is, Shaquem only has, he has one hand, he's missing his second hand. So we went, no laces, Velcro, so we could put them on. And this is how we like slipped them on. And these are the materials we use. So there was this performance element to it. But then it was like, but Shaquem plays like, I don't remember a shark. So that's why we use this type of material and made it look this way. A falcon?
Yeah, peregrine falcon.
Yeah. And you were like, it was like, these like nature, like animal.
So it's all around performance.
It's crazy. And I was like, that blew my mind from a curiosity standpoint, because I realized that in one product there can be so many stories told. Like there's a performance, but then there's also a meaning and a story behind it, and there's layers to it. And so that's now inspired a lot of my work and how I think about things, like, because you can have something on the surface, which is a cleat, and then it's the materials, and then it's the functionality of it, but then there can be a whole other deeper, more personal storytelling behind product or a service or a podcast or whatever that you can be really intentional about. Which then allows other creatives who are curious, when they learn that, and like in turn kind of inspires them. And that's what you did.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'll take curiosity over talent any day, because there's a drive there, right? Like you could be born with the talent and no drive. And I think curiosity and drive, it's connected.
Yeah.
So when as you're sitting there thinking, like the athletes that you've been around, the ones that are, there's certainly, to get up to the level you were at, like, there is a price of admission, right? There is a level of genetic talent that gets you into the door. But then after that, what is your curiosity on how much further can you go?
Right.
You could have, and I've seen it, I saw it at a design school, all these kids starting with all different levels of that talent, a genetic talent.
Yeah.
And what do you do with it?
Right.
Right. And to me, it's the curiosity of what can I do with it?
Right.
Who can I be?
Yeah.
That starts separating everybody, or other people start surpassing. We were talking about McCaffrey earlier. I mean, I don't know his high school career. But I'm willing to bet. In fact, I've had conversations with some people when he was in college, and they're just like, oh, he's a great college player, probably won't make it in the pros. And I'm like, I don't know. There's something. I could see like there's some drive there's something about him. And I think maybe just because of the work that I was doing and being around elite athletes, that I could just kind of see it. And now I still don't think my work with Serena Williams, 7 years before she finally retired. And this, I want to say finally, because when I was starting with her, there were people that believed that she was going to retire any moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. And it was my job to, allow her to leave the game on her terms. That's the way I always looked at it. With my job with athletes is
right.
Help them not get injured. Like, what can I do to help them stay healthy, and then leave the game on their terms. In my very first meeting with her, we were just talking about just kind of breaking down the footwear, the connection to the footwear and the athlete and her and blah, blah. And I told her, I said, respectfully, I don't think the world's seen the best of Serena Williams. And she was kind of like, what makes you think that?
I mean, this is probably after a couple of Grand Slam championships at this point.
Oh yeah, no, she was, so she's what, 25? No, this was 20, I think.
Okay.
20. And I kind of could tell, like, it was a little bit of a risky comment.
Yeah, right.
And she was kind of taken back, and she was like, what makes you say that? And I'm like, well, I watched your whole career. I'm watching now. Like, I really started studying her before we met with her.
Okay.
I knew the footwear that she was wearing. I knew what I was there to do with her, what I wanted to do with her,
right.
What I felt we could do with her, what hadn't happened in the game yet. Everything, all of that. And I just told her what I felt like she and I could do together. And she was like, you know what? You're the first person from Nike that's ever said anything like that to me.
Damn.
Let's go. Like,
you sparked some curiosity.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, she gets after it. she's a great one. Like she and Indomitian Sue.
Yeah.
People would tell me that they are 1 in a million, meaning great, do product with them, like make them happy, whatever. But they're kind of, LeBron gets accused of that too, of like, you know, he must have his own special shoe or cleat or whatever. And you know, Michael was the same. Michael's shoes were the same shoes that everybody else wore.
Yeah.
And for me, with Indomitian and Serena, their insights, what they wanted in product and how I was able to work with them and the type of person they were, they're 1 of a million.
Yeah.
They represented a population of at least 1 million, I'd say multiple millions, but because Serena didn't love going to the gym. Right, there were times where she loved her bed, like stay rolled up in her covers and all cozy, and she didn't want to go anywhere.
Right.
Especially after having her child and like, you know, being married, and like she didn't want to, but she knew she had to go to the gym to get what she wanted. Right. Like that was her pursuit. Like her pursuit of getting another championship went through the gym.
Yeah. Right.
So you got to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Right. And then once she gets in the gym, she's going to get everything she has. And I've been around her at practices where she had an off day, and, you know, she'd listen to her body and listen to her trainer and follow, you know, that's a thing about trusting the process, right? Trusting the people around you. Like there were times that, that was what was great about your dad is you just listen to your coach or listen to the people that you know, that's another support group, right? Like she's an amazing, you know, and so does Indomitian, right? Talks about the team that he has around him, how important they are. But with Serena, you look at she's an individual athlete, but she was always out of her way to go to talk about the team that she had around her in the same work group. And so yeah, they're 2 people that I was very fortunate to work with, that I learned a lot from them. And so that idea of pursuit of your best self, and that idea of curiosity, and she didn't. And I think maybe that's, sparked a little bit of like, maybe I do have more to get.
Yeah, I'm more in the tank.
So she said her trainer, her mom, her sisters, and Serena all said that she was doing things on the court with that shoe that she had never been able to do before.
Yeah, you mentioned 2 guests that we had on season 2 of the podcast. Christian McCaffrey was on, and Indomitian Sue. And both of those guys, I've learned a ton from both of them, and fortunate, you know, grateful to, you know, call them friends, because you're talking about inspirations, man. Like, and both very curious in their own right. Indomitian is always looking for the edge. He's always looking for that 1% that can give him a competitive advantage over his opponent. And
important to note on that, not just a physical advantage.
Not just physical advantage, the mental advantage, the emotional,
he's, you know, people, because whenever I bring up his name, I know I could bring him up with you, but people, you have to be careful, right? Because of what the media has portrayed him to be. He is the first athlete that I ever met or ever heard of having a psychologist, like an athlete, like psychologist. Now it's a bit like, now they're on staff, even down into some high schools. But certainly at colleges and of course at the pro level. But he was the first one. He knew that was something that was holding him back. And he was being penalized, like literally penalized for. And he knew what he could do with a better psychological advantage on the field.
Yeah, no, for sure. He focuses a lot on his team and who he has around him. And I got lucky because I essentially inherited his team, you know? So Keith and Charlie and all those guys, and the regimen and the training programs, and being out at Nike, you know, and then training there. So
I've had some of Charlie's needles in my arm.
My
back.
Yeah, Charlie will get after it, man. He's been on the podcast too. He's a
really.
He's a ball of knowledge. He's got
no doubt about that.
Archives and archives of just performance knowledge and the way that the body works and how to increase performance and give an edge. And I also realized that like the mindset that Indomitian has each one of his team members had as well, and then the shit becomes infectious. It's like we're all competing You know, Charlie and Keith are both competing in their own lanes. And then Dominican and I, we're competing, and Karan's competing. This like just environment of competition. It was like I found that it actually helped me bridge the gap from in season and off season, because we would actually like compete. We would play games like tag and goal line and all these things, or spike ball, and like this shit would get real. Like we're ready to get after it, you know, throw bows, and Dominican's calling me a cheater. Like we're about to quit the game because you know he's really the one that's always cheating. But then once we get
Did you get that?
Yeah, please. We got that. Once we get to training camp, you know, once I step into training camp, it's like my competitive muscles are, you know, I've been training that.
Yeah.
Like I don't have, there's no switch that was ever off, you know, it's just on.
It's so funny. I told Dominica one time, I was like, dude, you need to like figure out how to turn that switch or that switch into a dial, right? Like to be able to amp up and amp down. Where like it's like a big, it's like one of those huge like switches that, you know, clicks in. And like you can't like when it's like you got a powered right
switch,
right?
Yeah.
But I think that's the athletes that I've met that are at that next level psychologically have the dial, as opposed to the big switch or even just a little toggle switch.
Right.
They can ramp it up and ramp it down.
Yeah.
But there's a level, right? Like it doesn't, they can sneak up on it, but if they need to like crank it to 11 like that, they can do it.
Yeah.
But they're able to kind of temper that. And I think and for me, that's like, again, back to like how I pursue things, and how, like breaking it down, like I break it down into 5 facets: sleep, psychology, movement, nutrition, and recovery. Sleep is an inactive recovery, and recovery is an active form of recovery. So contrast therapy and whatever. So psychology is, and it's a ecological system, right?
Okay.
That makes us up who we are.
Yeah.
And you can train each one of them. In each one of them, I try to get people that want to get on their own pursuit. Like, I try to get people to understand that they've always been on a pursuit. Like you may now want to get on a pursuit of losing weight and getting back into movement, but that might be because you were sacrificing movement because you were so focused on your family and developing a career and the psychological piece of who you are.
Right.
You know, or some people sacrifice sleep to do other things. Like I haven't met too many people where they're lacking all 5. There's something that they're good at.
Yeah.
There's something that they've been doing that they, you know, has taken attention away from another. And if you can help them see it, they're already in.
Yeah.
Right. And so once they're in, then it's just a matter of like, okay, now we all only have 24 hours, right? So what do you do with those 24 hours? You did your training, you still do your training, your movement piece, and psychological piece because you do it with friends.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And some people, you know, the psychological piece, and recovery, can also be combined. Like the more you can kind of bring together multiple facets, the more you can kind of condense your, 24 hours.
Yeah, right.
Get after more.
That makes sense. Makes sense. You've worked with a lot of elite athletes. You've seen a lot of different mindsets, perspectives, approaches to both competition, but then also since you're like collaborating with athletes in the design of the product that they are wearing, you've seen different approaches. What do you think is unique about some of the athletes that you've worked with and collaborated with? I mean, we mentioned Shaquem and Dominican, Serena. Has there been an athlete that's really like stood out in really wanting to be hands-on in the story that's told with the sneaker or the cleat or whatever's being created?
And over the years, it's changed, right? Like, in the beginning of my career in '94, it was Tinker and Michael. They were just developing that formula.
Yeah.
That true collaborative formula, not collaboration where you just, stick a name on it. There's a collaboration that's happening. That's a symbiotic relationship. I would say arguably, I won't even argue it. It's a fact. Eric Avar and Kobe Bryant are the poster.
Okay.
And I say are, not was, because until somebody passes that up, like they are and forever will be, then it's Tinker and Michael probably.
Okay.
But trying to think of some others, but there's that true collaboration. So when I first started, there wasn't that much going on. In fact, my work with Scottie Pippen, there were times where I'd go with Tinker to Chicago. I'd go with him to go with
to see Scottie.
Yeah. Well, yes, he would come with me to see Scottie. I would go with him to see Michael.
Okay, got you.
And I would think Tinker would say that he learned some things from our relationship.
Yeah.
My relationship with Scottie and how we worked, and I certainly learned from them. And he learned from Bowerman, right?
Right.
Who he was the GOAT. He was the originator.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's bookends, right? So the far extreme of the bookend that I ever worked with was Charles Barkley.
Okay.
Even just giving a shoe, like he just
right. He's not tripping.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Give me a sneaker and lace that on.
Yeah. He was nice enough. Like he enjoyed the story behind it,
right.
And he certainly wanted the performance out of it, but just trusted you.
Yeah.
He, in fact, one time said to me, like, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. You're not going to tell me how to play basketball. And I'm like, fair enough. Yeah, fair. I'm not going to tell you how to play basketball. But, and then there's other ones that KG loved the process. I would say in the earlier days, he was the one that really stood out. He really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Sitting down, so much so like he would come to campus and sit down with us. And learn like how to point and click on the computer to like put colors into his design, and like really loved it, and loved the storytelling, and because he loved the storytelling, he loved trying to help write the story.
Yeah.
And that's on his the KG3, the OBF on the bottom on the pivot point, the original block family that came from him.
Oh, damn.
And that didn't really take much digging. That literally was something that he contributed, that he wanted, because that was his crew. Like he wouldn't be who he is without them, and so he didn't want that shoe to be without them, a piece of the story.
KG was one of my favorite players, man. Growing up, I was a Timberwolves fan because of KG.
Yep.
Yeah, because he played the 4. He was like tall, but he was he was kind of a flex 4. You know what I mean? Like had the mid range.
One of the originators.
And he was just intense, like the way that he played. And I remember the story, like he had the rubber band, and whenever he'd like make a mistake on the court, he'd have this rubber band on his wrist, and he'd like snap the rubber band to like, I don't give him some type of reminder what he's out there to do.
Yeah. Do you know what the rubber band became?
No.
AG's rubber band.
No.
Because I was working on the Shock Stunner when I was also working with KG, and there was something that I designed to go with the Shock Stunner, and it was a silicone wristband that eventually became the Livestrong.
Like the Livestrong? No way.
So 110 million
really
into Livestrong to fight cancer.
What?
Was
that came from the KG rubber band?
Yeah, because of my relationship with KG. Wow. And they lost in the first round for the third year in a row. And I remember watching him, and I think it was, I don't know, it feels like there was, it was an away game and there was confetti, but I might be off on that. But I just remember him watching on TV, and he just looked like a lost kid on the playground. And he was just so dejected. I got home, or I got to work and started writing a letter to him. And then there, Twist, the play here in Portland.
Yeah, the jewelry spot.
Yeah. They had rubber bands. I mean, this is 98, 99, 99 maybe. These rubber bands that had words printed on them.
Okay.
And these words were like, desire and fight and whatever, like all passion and other things. And I'm like, man, that's KG. So I bought a few of those rubber bands, wrote this letter, and put it on and mailed it off to him. And then I was over in Asia working on the shoe because I bought a rubber band for myself.
Right.
And the word was just printed. So after a while, it would rub off. It was,
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And like, oh, that's a bummer. And thinking about, and not that you're always trying to figure out with product, with podcasts, with YouTube, whatever, you're always trying to, how do you bring more value to what you're doing?
Yes.
Right? To inspire more people, to bring more people along, to inspire more people to come aboard.
Yeah.
So no different with footwear. So work on the shoe. It's like, I mean, how can we bring more value to what we're doing? And I got tired of like, putting chrome on an eyelet or whatever.
Yeah. Right.
More isn't necessarily more. But so how could I bring something that is more, that delivers more than anybody's ever had? Like
Okay.
So I was thinking like, man, it'd be cool to have a wristband that's a kid buy the pair of shoes, put the wristband on like KG, could wear it during the game.
Right.
And you couldn't wear necklaces anymore.
Yeah.
And I could emboss something on it.
Yeah.
And it was also they were talking about the shock stunner to be for the Final Four. And this idea for me is like a Cinderella team, the dream of getting to the Final Four, the dream of even going to the, to the dance. I designed it with the word dream on one side and a swoosh on the other.
Okay.
Long story short, or trying to make it shorter. But I have Dominos I can connect from KG losing in that third round to $110 million and to live strong. And one of those Dominos is Mark Parker asking if I wanted to go with him to the Tour de France. And I'm like, yeah, that would be fun.
Hell yeah.
And so I got
CEO.
At the time was he the CEO or president? Doesn't matter.
Okay. He was leadership.
Yeah. But he invited me. Oh, because I was going to be going over to Europe to start the footwear design office over there.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so he just invited me in. And then and Scott McEachran was the sports marketing person for Lance. He and Lance were super tight. And when I got over there, I had all these ideas, and one thing led to another, right? These dominoes, the sponges, the dominoes, and the butterflies. Mm-hmm. So the dominoes for me, one of the dominoes was Scott in our conversations about, man, I should have done a yellow band, dream band, and we could have like given him out, for Lance, like the dream of being, at the tour and whatever your dream. It goes back to that sub 60 too.
Yeah.
What is your dream?
Yeah.
Lance
be interpreted differently. Yeah. By everybody.
And he's like, oh man, that'd be sick. And then Live Strong was happening. And so it was, Scott then took the dominoes and kind of had his thing. And for me in the dominoes piece, it's like, connecting to the butterfly effect of, butterfly can flap its wings in South America and eventually change the weather here in Portland. I don't know how long that takes. I don't know. Maybe it's short, maybe it's long. As long as you continue that momentum, you may be able to, that small effect of the butterfly flapping its wings, me, working with KG and him snapping hair, can literally eventually, if you line up the dominoes and just create momentum, where it's going to go. You just keep the positivity going. Don't worry about what Scott McEachran's going to go off and do with that idea. Don't worry about what somebody else is going to do with one of your ideas.
Yeah.
Let it go. And hey, that's a great idea. And what if, and you do this, and you do that.
Right.
Not but wait.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Don't be that kid. Don't be like, oh, that's a dumb idea, or that's my idea.
Right.
Just let it go.
Yeah.
And it's like add more fuel to it. Yeah. And eventually you might change the world.
Yeah.
You have no idea. Or you might change somebody's life.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Because there was the Live Strong bands, but then there were all the Nike bands that came from that. And they had like the different colors that were coming up.
So the equipment team came to me and said, would you mind if we packaged these and sold them? I said, absolutely, that'd be so cool.
Those are cracking.
Just don't ever put dream on one of them.
Because that was for
buy your dream. Like, I don't want to sell dreams, buy dreams.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the only way, if you have a dream wristband, Kevin Carroll, do you know Kevin Carroll?
I don't know Kevin.
Okay, you should have Kevin Carroll on this.
Okay.
His business card.
Bookmark that.
So I met Kevin Carroll, bookmark. I met Kevin Carroll when I was working Nike basketball. He was the trainer for the 76ers. He did a couple other things along the way, then became his business card at Nike said Catalyst.
Mm.
And he was like Phil Knight's guy.
Okay.
And he was just a catalyst for making things happen.
Okay.
So he had this, and he wrote a book called The Red Rubber Ball. The Red Rubber Ball.
Rubber Ball. Okay.
Great book. Little copy, one of those little books you can.
Oh, cool.
You should take time to read it, but you can read it probably in 15 minutes, or you should probably take at least 15 days to read it.
Okay.
If not 15 years, and keep reading it.
All right.
It's an amazing, and he does this talk, and he has an acronym for DREAM. And so he asked, he made a bunch of them in his own colors. We did a bunch. So the only way you could get those is through Kevin or through Nike Basketball.
Okay.
And then the baller bands became something else, but it became part of popular culture on the court, which was super cool. And then,
yeah, and then Adidas started doing it too.
So for
Their
me,
bands were different because they had like a little like indentation around the whole thing. It was like just
yeah. So the very first silicone wristband that was ever created, and I have no problem saying this because silicone's a natural material. They'll eventually disintegrate, go back into the earth. The very first one that was ever made is in my wife's drawer at home, or Megan's drawer. It's in this pink, because they were like, the factory that was doing them thought I was making for my wife, which I was like,
because it's jewelry. It's like wristband jewelry. Okay.
Yeah, so they made them in pink.
Yeah.
Because they knew my wife's favorite color is pink. And so that was the very first one. But I still use this today. In fact, I was working with a client down in LA yesterday. And for me, what we do is all about creating conversation pieces. So this is a conversation piece. You hope that what we're doing right now will inspire and enable other conversations to happen.
Yeah, this is the butterfly flapping its wing.
And the dominoes that, just let them go and create more momentum. And Kevin Carroll needs to be on this, and then he needs to go, like, whatever,
right?
Wherever it goes. And so the Live Strong wristband. So if you, and this is perfect now because of the what's happening in our country and the divide that's happening. Conversations are so important. What's the worst thing you can do for a relationship?
The worst thing you could do for a relationship?
Stop talking.
Not communicating.
Right?
Yeah.
What's the best thing you can do to find empathy with someone?
Listen.
That's amazing. Communicate, yes. And listen more, right? We were born with one mouth and two ears. Use them appropriately, right? So if Live Strong wristbands had just happened today, and you saw someone wearing one from across the street, you'd be like, they're okay.
Yeah,
they bought that for $1.
Right.
And if you walked across the street and now you're next to them, you'd be like, oh hey, I got one too, or whatever. There's a little icebreaker conversation piece, right? And you find out like, oh yeah, I'm a survivor, or my loved one just passed away, or whatever it was. Like that was a conversation piece and a connector of. Didn't matter who you were. But today, now you might later, within 5 minutes, find out that they just voted for Trump, or they just voted for Kamala, or whoever. Then it's like, but you're still an okay person. So let's have a little bit more. Let me find out more about you.
Right.
Right. Like,
because you're wearing a Live Strong band.
Right.
So let me hear you out.
Yeah.
Here.
It's a cultural barrier breaker.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what footwear is.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a part of it. I'm still a part of it. Instagram's amazing because a lot of times you don't know who you're DMing with, and you're just talking about shoes and sneakers, and you're having some level of connection.
Yeah.
That's where this guy Sean, the barrier that broke with the sub 60 started with the sneakers. The conversation happened.
Yeah.
So all these things kind of. For me, like everything that relates, and this idea of to your earlier question about why I still pursue, like I have a hypothesis about my life that I'm still just kind of banging against and tweaking.
Yeah.
The sponges, dominoes, and butterflies in this idea of pursuit is that for me.
Yeah.
And that I just keep. In conversation pieces, it's all in my Instagram.
Yeah,
like hashtag conversation pieces is part of this. In the pursue you in the sub 60. I did an event with Kyle Linney about he had a race that he wanted to break a time and beat, a world record. And I kind of had the same, thing. It's like, that was what his thing was, and what somebody else's, it's the same, he has his edge that he's looking for.
Right.
We all have it. We all have an edge. And I believe, we all have the capability to push, to at least find it.
Yeah.
Can we, and push against it? Is it a brick wall going nowhere? You might think so.
Right.
But once you get up to it, maybe it's a little softer than you think,
Mm-hmm.
and you find that you get something out of that push, right? As long as and I would say, like, you have to, recovery is one of the 5 facets, right?
Yeah.
So, and I found this out with working out with your dad, and this time bound of 6 weeks, I couldn't, and at my age, like, I knew recovery was going to be a big piece.
Yeah. Right.
Like, if I'm just going to the track once a week, and even if I push myself as hard as I possibly can, it's going to take longer, right? So I knew I had to get to the track at least 2 days a week and push as hard as I could against that edge and be able to push the edge. But if I show up at track and I'm already exhausted from the workout before 3 days earlier, I can't even get to the edge to push against it. So I have to recover.
Yeah.
So that's an important piece. And that's where life gets in the way for a lot of people. And you have to, like, sleep, right, is a tough one for people.
Yeah.
When you're working multiple jobs, you're a single parent, life is just pulling you in the different, like, even if you wanted to find that limit to push against, you have everything else pulling you back.
Yeah.
So how do you, like, what can you do to recover so that pull isn't as strong?
Right.
Which can be, like, and again, I've worked with enough people. I try to be empathetic. I've traveled the world. I've had deep conversations with as many people as I possibly can, to learn what I believe life is all about. And that's tough, man, for a lot of people. Unfortunately, the majority of our country, donuts are still cheaper than apples, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And donuts are more accessible than apples.
Right.
So just that alone, the nutrition piece, like, you fill yourself up with donuts, you're not going to sleep well. You're not going to be psychologically feeling very well. You're not going to want to move.
Yeah.
Like, that will wreck you.
100%.
But when they're at, around the corner, and, apples are more expensive and you got to take a bus to get there.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. We got a little sweet tooth over there, Shawnee.
Hey, but we're all fortunate enough to be able to have balance around us, right?
Right.
Whatever that balance means to you.
Yeah. I mean, we can indulge in Itai's home-baked cookies, though.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. One more question,
Yeah.
Cool, because before we jump into our halftime, you mentioned Kobe earlier, and all of this, like, pushing up against the wall and the boundary of what you can possibly achieve as an individual. He was the perfect, product of that, and the way that he pursued. And you mentioned him in his collaboration with, was it
Eric Avar, yeah.
Eric Avar. I'm curious why you put that at the top, right? Because I know about Tinker and Jordan. Yeah, everybody talks about that, at least here in Portland. Like, it's very, we know what they did together. But I feel like with Kobe and Avar, it's not as, that story hasn't been as told. Why do you put them at number one?
Because I know both relationships quite well.
Yeah.
Maybe more than most. This is funny. I would say that's the one, I guess in my own personal belief, is a downfall and a unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we don't know that.
Yeah.
And that story hasn't been told, and now can only be fabricated through. So it can certainly be told through Eric, but then fabricated because we unfortunately lost Kobe. And I don't. The world will never know how much we lost, but knowing who Kobe, I only met him a few times, and even in those times you're taken back, but knowing Kobe through Eric and having a lot of conversations with Eric about him, and also knowing Eric as a person, and knowing what Kobe was working on, this world lost a lot. And he would have been, I think he would have been out in the world more when he was retired, post basketball, post basketball than he was on the court.
Yeah.
And when was the last time you saw Michael?
Yeah.
When was the last time you could say, "Oh, this event, Michael inspired these people"? Remember when you saw Michael last week doing this or doing that or whatever? Not to take anything away from Michael, like God, he gave us, a lifetime of memories and inspiration, and so he deserves to do whatever he wants to do with the rest of his life. I'm not saying to take anything away from him, or
but two different individuals,
and what Eric does on his own time and who he is as a person, it's just different than Tinker. And I'm good friends with Tinker, and huge fan of him professionally, maybe an even bigger fan of him personally, and his family and all that. But it's just, they're just different.
Yeah.
And what Eric and Kobe would have done together. And I would love to, I'm working on a little something that hopefully will come to fruition where we'll get some more of those stories out.
Yeah.
But it's also not the type of person Eric. Hey, look, I'm probably sitting here a little bit because of that from Eric. Eric's just not that type of person. He's a much more lead by example and kind of always stay in the shadows.
Right.
When I was working with him, he would always like, "No, you go do it." And I'm like, I'm more of a, this isn't natural for me. Like, it's somewhat uncomfortable for me. But I always take the opportunities. Like, I have a little bit of a jitter inside of me right now, just kind of buzzing, because I get in these situations where I have to get a little bit outside of myself.
Yeah.
Because it's not natural to me, but I put myself here to pursue me, right? Pursue my best, because just like Serena, like my goal is to win the championship, to be my best self. And my gym, like, to do that and to inspire people and enable them and do whatever I can to help others.
Yeah.
I have to sit here, right? I have to do what I didn't ask you, when you texted me, I wasn't like, sure, my fee is this, or, whatever. Like, I'm typically all in, and then figure out, okay, what I just signed up for.
Yeah. Well, we balling on a budget over here, so I appreciate the pro bono pull up.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, no, beautiful, man. It's unnatural to always be walking on or running on a flat surface.
Yeah,
for like more years, humans have walked on uneven surfaces like hills and mountains or whatever, right? It's like only more recently we've been just walking on pavement or tracks.
Yeah. I'm working on a project now, which I can't share, but my goal is that, well, one, I need to get the client to believe in this and not just create foot coverings, but to create a shoe that actually inspires you to go walk on different surfaces, because you can actually feel them. They don't hurt, but when you step on a rock or whatever, but you can feel it. And so you're like, oh, I wonder what that surface feels like. Or it's like this, like, I can feel this carpet, I can feel this floor. You can't. There's more sensory on the bottom of our feet than anywhere else in our body. I'm just looking around. I'm hard pressed to even find something right now that doesn't have a story and a reason for being. One of 30 toys from the 80s, and it has like a whole, like, the arm even shoots. This is before, like, they even have a swoosh on there.
Somebody put the swoosh on with the
Manufactured it. It's extremely rare.
Wow.
That piece of rubber up there is actually a piece of pressed rubber that Bill Bowerman pressed.
Oh, wow. And the waffle iron?
Well, that never happened.
That's a myth.
Yeah, it was if you were to press rubber into a waffle iron, it'd come out looking like a waffle, not like that. Yeah, I got the idea of the inversion of that shape because it's the inverse shape.
Right.
waffle,
Yeah.
right? There's inspiration behind it, but he would use the waffle iron to heat up the rubber. From what I was told from the person that worked with him directly. Like the form factor between, do you even know what this is?
Yeah, that's one of those like click-through things, and you had that disc.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to love these things.
Yeah, so here's Escape in, whatever year this was,
I used to have a black one, man.
right? And,
Or a red one.
and now here's Escape, or can be Escape,
Yeah.
2025.
Oh, wow, this is made in Portland?
Oh yeah, people know the inventor. You know Greg Hoffman?
No.
So Greg Hoffman was the chief marketing officer for Nike for a while.
Okay.
He lives in the house that inventor designed and built.
What?
I think he found or has some of the original drawings of the viewfinder.
I mean, yeah, and this is a super early one.
Yeah, can you see?
Oh, created depth in
Huh?
these two. They created depth.
Yeah.
You know, like it feels 3D.
So I'm basically doing the same thing you are. That's pretty funny. It all starts with this. So whatever form this is will determine what people will tell you how it fits and how it feels. And so there's a lot of design that goes into this, and how high off the ground do you want the heel? Some lasts are higher up, some are lower. So all, the width, the shape, everything. It's relevant.
Last.
Yeah, it's called a last. No, I was, joke. The last comes first. There's some people that tell you that there's a difference between a women's foot and a men's foot.
Mm-hmm.
On a bell curve, yes. And it costs a lot of money to do separate tooling to make the shoe fit completely different.
Yeah.
For me, it's about, I want their shoe to fit. My objective is to create the perfect last for everybody. And so trying to find that one fit is not easy.
Yeah, because you're trying to create a last that is conducive to everybody, right? Because man or woman, you're gonna buy the same shoe, just at different sizes, but the fit will essentially be the same.
If it was my own company, I wouldn't have. I mean, it's hard because you have to navigate on websites, but I would rather do, instead of men and women, I would rather do by preference, slim fit or generous fit.
Okay.
Wide, narrow, whatever.
Right.
But get people to understand that it's just about fit.
Yeah.
It's not about gender. Like with Serena and her shoe, a lot of guys are wearing it. A lot of women wear Kobe.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
wear what you want to wear.
You know so much about last and feet and design of a sneaker, and maybe the company you're working with doesn't have as much experience as you do.
Yeah.
Like, what's the trick to collaboration of the give and take, right?
5-letter word.
Listen. What is that?
And that's 6.
Okay.
No, it's trust. For me, a lot of things come down to empathy and understanding. Like, the more a client can understand and have empathy for me and what I've done and who I am today, and me with them, then we can get to that trusting point a lot quicker.
We don't want to waste time. If we're taking our time and it's being useful, it's okay.
So that is part of the problem, is that people's definition of what their choice of their use of time is. So we all the most democratic thing in this world in our lives is the 24 hours we all share. Doesn't matter what our views are, what our gender is, what our race is, none of that matters, right? Time. So, but what I do with my time and what you do with your time comes to our own preference. You first need to understand and agree on what the objective is. Then have empathy for where you are today. And now you can figure out how to get there together.
Yeah. I like, from a process standpoint, it's kind of starting with the end in mind.
Yeah, so this is a domino, but I put my logo on there, which is Moonshot Molecule. So the idea is you need to agree on what the moonshot is, and not just agree on it, but excited about it. So what is the moonshot? And then what is today? What is the molecule, the human behavior of today, or the clients that I'm trying to serve, the population that I'm trying to serve, is all about that molecular structure. These 3 dots actually represent my 3 kids, but And so it's like who I am today,
Yeah.
the steps that I want to take to get to where I want to be tomorrow. And so, but it's the same idea, the same symbology for how I work with a client, or how I see the world, and how we live together. Some people see things through written word. So do I write a story?
Right.
Some people see things by like, oh, I'll know when I see it. Like you have to show them a picture of it.
Yeah.
So the more realistic you can be with that picture, maybe the better chance you have of them to be like, oh, get that light bulb effect of like, oh, the big idea, the light bulb turning on. Yeah, oh, I get it.
Right.
Like, oh, okay, awesome. Now let's go.
Yeah.
So if it's, using a tool in Gravity Sketch, virtual reality, AI, doesn't matter to me, but I have this vision in my head. I need to get out and share with others. There's AI artists out there that are mind-boggling, like blow your mind with what they do with an AI platform. Same software that you and I have access to. The way they use it and the way we use it is like the difference between me using a pencil and Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo using paint, like whatever, sculpting.
Right.
It's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same tools
Yeah.
in one big block of marble.
Yeah.
I can't create the statue of David,
Yeah.
right? It's the same thing. It's like, what do you do with,
Yeah.
I can give somebody a hammer and they can build me a house. I can give somebody else a hammer and they can take that house down. What do you hope this turns into? Like, what do you...
That's a good question. Like last season, let me know.
Yeah.
Okay. Last season, we saw a lot of growth on YouTube, and we came up with this formula on how we're releasing episodes and how we're amplifying them and chopping them and editing them, etc. And then we were having conversations with distribution platforms and networks, and we were essentially trying to sell the show, sell the IP, or get like sponsorship and amplification, because, listens aren't super high, or views, depending on the episode. Like we can compete, but most times like subscriber count, view count, like we're nowhere near, some of these bigger podcasts that like are actually making money. So we were figuring like if we get with a network, then that could lead us to getting that amplification, and then boom, we're in a good space. And so that was last season. Spent a lot of time through the season trying to make that happen. And then coming into this season, I was feeling like it was really like that approach was handcuffing me too much, handcuffing us too much. Because at the end of the day, this show, B-Scar TV, which is not even a show, it's just a concept, has always been to like tell unique stories, share my own personality, and then leverage friends and, folks that I'm inspired by, leverage their personalities and stories to inspire people. That's really the core of it, is just have a genuine conversation, create space for real thoughts, feelings, beliefs, personalities to show through, and then allow others to participate in that as if they're just a fly on the wall. Yeah. And so I realized that like trying to push so hard on the monetization of it and the selling of it was actually, I think, working against that. And so for this season, it's really back to just the core of it, having the conversations
back
with
to
the hope
the people,
to inspire, and then where it goes from there, hopefully we'll get some sponsorships and, whatever, but that's not the mission.
Yeah.
That maybe it could be a byproduct of the mission. Yeah. But
I just put in my last Sneaker Story Sunday post on Instagram. It's there. I've said it before in other posts, but made a point in this last one about if you focus on the people over profit, then you have a chance to build a brand, a sustainable brand, and the business will come. If you focus on the profit over the people, you might build a business for some time, but the beginning is already, or the end is already started. Like there is an end to it.
Right.
If that's how if you just keep staying focused on the profit, because the people will, people change, right? People, our focus changes, and so you may hit a trend and be part and build a financial, profitable business. Yeah. But once that trend shifts, once people shift, right, then things start going down, and the end is near. So I've always said people over profit.
I like that.
But to gain more, to bring more community, to build more population, yes, you have to have profit, right?
Yeah.
But you're gaining that profit to build more population,
Right.
as opposed to being the other way around. And
Yeah. The profit maybe is the means at some point, but the end is always the people
exactly.
versus the other way.
And then again, I'm like, if some people, if that's the name of their game is profit, then
Yeah.
over people, then that
Which
just
that,
saying, if
yeah.
if you want to have a bigger impact in this world, if you want to build a brand versus just a business,
Yeah.
then you got to stay focused on the people you're trying to serve. So
Yeah. And then at some point, like having the business, the framework of the business helps to do that with the people and do it sustainably, right?
Exactly.
So it like becomes this flywheel, and the people led to the profit, which leads to more and deeper connection to the people, which is more, and then that flywheel has started. And I like how you use that people over profit. Like you give it a quick little framework, right? And it's like, okay, that can be put up on the wall as a North Star. And you also have done this in your work with sponges, dominoes, and butterflies. You've created this almost like life framework, and in some ways maybe like a personal creed, right? Or like, these are like my principles, which then can justify, or you can like compare what you're doing in life and like the why you're doing it, because you've defined this personal creed. And I think as creatives, it's really important to do. I think it's important for everybody, but people that lean more creatively and have a lot of ideas and want to do a lot of different things. Speaking from experience, for me, like there's a lot that I want to do, and there's a lot that I'm doing, and it becomes difficult to, over time, to define it, not just for other people, but also internally. When you question, like, damn, why am I doing this thing again? Why does B-Scar TV exist? And so I've worked in it, continuing to evolve like my own kind of life framework. For me, it's community, creativity, and capital. It's a little bit more surface level than the sponges, dominoes, and butterflies, but it's kind of the same, a similar
for sure.
approach. And so I would love to just hear, especially for the people listening too, like, where did sponges, dominoes, butterflies come from? And, generally your perspective on having a life framework like that.
Where did it come from? I mean, I've been working on it for decades. So
it's a decade.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I have these opportunities in life. This may end up being one of them. As I sit here listening to you, I have some thoughts going into my head that I might, if they stay in my head long enough, I might do something with them. Meaning they might they might bang against my current hypothesis. If between now and when I get home, they evaporate, then they didn't have that as much impact. So I try not to, I try to trust the process, which is very hard for me. My biggest issue in life is not being present. So I have these out-of-body experiences too often, because I live so far out in the future. I'm always trying to create the future. I'm always trying to affect the future. I'm always trying to make a better future. And so I often take myself out of the situation I'm in. And they even sometimes reflect too much on the past, but only not to dwell on it, but to only reflect on it to understand where that might take us into the future. So I'm always kind of this pull that's always happening with me, and so trying to be present is difficult. Actually, my logo, it's all it's also all on my Instagram if you kind of dig into it, which I'll eventually, my goal with Instagram is to eventually reveal it all, but that just takes a lot of time too. But my AC, my logo, is an A with a C around it, which kind of looks like an ampersand, like the at. And so for me, it's like, and the A is a square and then the C is a circle.
Okay.
So my mom always told me that I'm I am. She's past
Square peg in a round hole.
Yeah. And she said, you're going to have that problem your whole life, but you don't fit in.
Right.
And she's right, to a degree. I'll get back to that in a second. But so, and then the ampersand is also like to when I see my own logo, when I see that and what I want to eventually do with it, like put it on a t-shirt so that other people can understand that the story behind it is how important it is to be present, because we really can't, we can try to do what we can, and we should affect the future to make a better future for all of us. We can learn from the past, we can enjoy memories from the past, but we should really focus on what's happening right now. And so that's part of my logo. The sponges, dominoes, and butterflies is all part of that. My consultancy is called Moonshot Molecules. So this idea of having one eye in a telescope and one eye in a microscope. So a telescope far out there, and to have vision to a big moonshot, and then also be empathetic to the finer things that are happening today with human behavior. The molecular structure of human behavior is the way I kind of look at it, and have that empathy. So the molecules is about the empathy for me, and the moonshot's about the bigger vision.
Right.
And then being able to connect those together.
Got you. Which is a little bit like that's the present.
Yeah.
The molecules and the moonshot maybe could be the future.
For sure. And then the dominoes, and that's what it all fits in there too, is like the sponges, just soaking up everything around you. I've been blessed to be born with 5 senses, so I try to, maximize, my 5 senses. Like since I've been here, I've been, trying to soak up everything around me. You have your, little scent thing going on in the bathroom, and, the chocolate chip cookies over here, and all I've been taking it all in with my 5 senses. And then, so that's the sponge piece of it. And then the dominoes is the connection between, the molecules in the moonshot. And again, back to the butterfly. So I don't know what is going to happen from this.
Yeah.
Right. Like, yes, we came from the same neighborhood, but we have much different background. Right. And if you go into our parents' backgrounds, that's even more different. Right.
Yeah.
I was fortunate having a preacher for a father, and my mom a social activist. So I grew up in an environment that was very inclusive, and I had all sorts of people around me. So I've tried to maintain that empathetic, but it's work, right?
Yeah.
I have to say yes to wanting to sit down and have a conversation with somebody that does not look like me, and maybe even makes me a little bit fearful they look so different than me. But I have to have a curiosity deep enough curiosity. Again, not my curiosity is bigger than.
Right. Because that person could have different beliefs and different approaches.
Different beliefs. Yeah, but and how amazing and awesome would that be? Right? Because then I learned something new. Because the last thing I want to do is sit in front of myself.
Yeah.
I like that would just be boring. I don't like traveling by myself. I like being out and meeting people and learning about people. And
this is dope, man. Because then that's the perfect example of what I mean by having like that life framework. It's like when I asked you to come on the B-Scar TV podcast, you have something like, okay, I have this opportunity. Maybe this is a butterfly opportunity. It immediately goes through like the filter of sponges, dominoes, butterflies. Okay, well maybe this podcast is the first domino to fall. Just like the KG rubber band thing, right? Because you could also cite your own experiences. Or maybe it's the butterfly, like, maybe this is a flap of the wing that leads to that over there and the next moonshot. This is the molecule to the next moonshot, which is cool, I think, just to go about life and having somewhat of a filter or formula by which to make decisions on what you do, and then how to justify what you do against, like, is this true to me and my values? Because you've defined it in a way that, you know, isn't a laundry list of different like values and morals and principles. Like, you put it in, you distill it down to 3 words that each have their own particular meaning. Yeah. And then, okay, an opportunity comes or an idea comes. Let me put it through this. Can it, is this a sponge? This is domino butterfly? No? Okay.
It's funny. We're all like, you are the CEO of you, of your life, so we can, it's the similar framework to building a business, to building yourself.
Yeah.
Right? I'm the CEO of me. So if I want to create the business of me, the brand of me, like, I need to have a vision,
right,
a mission,
that you can believe in yourself.
And belief is you have to. I mean, again, I would argue Nike's the biggest brand on the planet, more so than Apple, because people in India and China, the biggest populations, have other brands that they are part of their life more so than Apple. I think Nike is the biggest popular brand on the planet. If Phil Knight did not have a molecular belief in what he was doing and what he and Bill Bowerman wanted to bring to this world, I wouldn't be sitting here. You wouldn't be sitting there.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
Your dad wouldn't be, you might not be born, dude.
Yeah.
Like, your dad's a badass athlete. I don't know the relationship that he had with Nike or whatever, but Nike had a relationship with sport.
Yeah.
While he was growing up.
He ran for him.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a big, belief.
Yeah, no, that's right.
And people's belief in religion, one of the biggest in the world, right? People's belief in political stance, one of the biggest. Like, I mean, belief is, so if and that's what a lot of people say, you have to believe in yourself before you can start helping others.
Yeah.
Which is something else I have a very hard time with, because I deeply want to help others. That's why I feel like I'm here, but I'm constantly trying to believe more. And, like, I have a hard time believing in myself. Maybe that's another podcast.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's belief is the foundation of just moving forward. So the belief of a brand, the belief of yourself as that brand, the belief in the values that you bring to that, and all it all kind of works together.
Yeah.
And so yes, I have these opportunities where I consciously try to pull all that together and lay it all out visually, and eventually I do want to create. And again, it's some of it's in my Instagram. I want to create a brand, like my own brand that then people can buy into. I have another thing about it's the stories that matter. Like, all of this, the sponges, dominoes, and butterflies, the molecules to the moonshot, like, it's all, that all makes up the story. The journey makes the story, right?
100%.
So it is the stories that matter.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we have, and then it's the conversation pieces, like what, but, so I'll give another one to you. Stop me anytime. If I get going to like I'm getting out of body again, but I have this thing, another thing that I look through is like community, culture, and conversation. Right? So communities are created by cultures, like they bind together.
Right.
Whether it's athletics, right? So the communities are going, like, Stanford has a community built around a couple different cultures, right?
Yeah.
There's probably, the athletic culture might be the lowest. I don't know.
Yeah. There's tech culture.
Tech culture.
Tech culture.
100%. Educational culture, all that.
Right.
Michigan might be one of the bigger, USC, or like that collegiate culture that drives that community. Like, if I'm wearing a Michigan t-shirt anywhere in the world and someone else graduated from Michigan, and I bump into them, they're like, yo.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like the Live Strong band.
You're like the Live Strong band.
Yeah.
So you have the community of the culture. You have the culture of, whether the experiences, the events, the moments, whatever that, that people come together. And then the conversation pieces, the t-shirts, the shoes, the streamers for a birthday party, the turkey on a table for Thanksgiving, whatever, these conversational pieces that say like, wait a minute, are you part of this community that celebrates that culture? Blah, 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 right? So that's something else that is in my kind of on my table, I guess, that I'm kind of banging things against and defining and working with. And so eventually I want that to become my brand so that people see that AC logo or the sponge icon or the domino icon or the butterfly. I would love in the future to my brand to have enough impact where people connect to it so that they see a butterfly. Wherever they see a butterfly, they're like, oh, there's that brand. Or I actually don't even care if that much is even better. It'd be better. Yeah. It'd be better if it was it got so impactful that it was disconnected from the brand.
Yeah.
That it had meaning on its own.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess that's almost, it's like what Jordan shoes turned into or what Kobe has turned into. And, they become bigger than the brand itself.
Yeah.
And so that philosophy, that value, whatever.
Yeah.
And if you ask my kids, what 3 things are most important to your dad, or if you put it into context without even giving them too much, they would say sponges, dominoes, and butterflies. Because that's even in the, I don't know if we should do this with the cameras rolling or not, you can edit it later, but the letters that the parents would write, for junior year in school, right? It's in every one of their letters. And it started with Jackson. Right. I'm like, what the hell am I going to tell Jack? Like, I want him as dad. And then also with these other kids, all the other parents asking me, hey, will you write a letter for my son or my daughter?
Yeah.
And I'm like, sure. And I had quite a few to write, or even like a hand. It wasn't like massive, little ton, but I want to put something into each one.
Yeah.
Then I was like, well, I want to share what I've learned.
What you've learned.
If I get hit by the proverbial bus on my way home today, what am I leaving for the world? What am I leaving for my kids? Well, like, what is my hypothesis that other people can take with them?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the letter I need to write.
Yeah.
So I wrote all that out and then added a little personal paragraph in front and a personal paragraph on the back. But the bulk of that letter is the same for my kids. It's the same for Riley Ford, Braden Ford.
Yeah.
For everybody that I wrote to. And so, yeah, that's my, so these moments that I have, I try to, act on them, do some build on them. It's a slow build, just like any brand. You have to have patience too.
It takes time.
I mean, here's a good back to to athletics or footwear even. And for real, do you know what year could you have bought either at retail or online a pair of Hoka shoes or On shoes?
What year?
What year?
When you mean when
I could have walked to I could gone online and purchased a pair of Hoka, like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Like, how many years ago could I have bought a pair of Hokas and put them on my feet, or bought a pair of Ons and put them on my feet?
I mean, I guess whenever online shopping started, but whenever the brand was,
or whenever. That's what I'm asking. Like, do you know how old
I don't know,
because a lot of people think they're
like last couple of years.
Yeah. So maybe like 5, 6, 8.
Right.
Do you know?
I have no idea.
15 years.
Been around for 15 years.
Yeah. And if I brought I don't have the On, I don't have either one now. When I left Nike, they still had the original Hokas that I bought. I bought the first pair of Hoka online. You could either get them online or at the Boulder Running Company. I bought Ons over in Europe because it was the first place you get them. I bought them at this retail place. And if I took that On running shoe, because it was called On Running, if I took that On running shoe over to the flagship that's now on 23rd and put it on the shelf, people would be like, oh, it must be a new shoe. And not like it looks like it fits with everything else.
Okay.
My point being, they haven't changed. Same with your shoes. Like they have not changed for 15 years.
Yeah.
So you have to have that patience. So now you take that analogy back to our life and being the CEO of your own brand.
Yeah.
And back to the original question of like, what wakes me up in the morning, why I keep pursuing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm into this for the long haul.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm getting somewhere.
Yeah.
54.
Yeah.
I got, I'm still not on the back nine. I got another 56 to go. That's my my goal anyway.
Hell yeah.
And to be active, like to go out,
Yeah.
just like I tried to do for the athletes that I worked with.
Right.
I want to go out on my own terms, but
yeah. Well, I think you saying that we are the CEO of our own brands, of our own companies. That takes another meaning when you step away from a corporate job, or you step into working for yourself as an entrepreneur or a consultant, or you're building your own company.
Yeah.
For you spent 25 years and Nike. You were the first intern with Nike.
Yeah. First design intern, yeah.
First design intern with Nike. You go for 25 years with the company. And then you're stepping out onto your own as a innovation consultant, as an advisor, creating your own brand. And so that's a stark contrast, right? And you're not the first, you definitely aren't the last, who has a dream, has a vision, and wants to go out and achieve and do that thing. And so now, over the past few years, as you've been the CEO of your own brand, of your own company, what lessons have you learned for other creatives or other aspiring entrepreneurs that you would give them?
Yeah, so I would say, I'd like to think anyway, that I've been staying on my purpose path. Some might even look back, like say that you're born on your purpose path, and I've stayed on mine. And Nike, like we walked that same path together, and I've stayed on mine, and maybe even a little bit earlier than when I left. I think Nike veered off their purpose path. So when you say like it's stark difference, for me it was the same, and that's why I felt so comfortable at Nike. I still work, I work hard, but I also like to play hard. It felt more comfortable at Nike because I was so focused on what I want to do for the world, which is what they wanted to do for the world. People over profit. Right? So there was a little shift that happened.
Yeah.
And that just, it's just not me.
Yeah.
Right? I do believe Elliot Hill, the new CEO, is a very people over profit person.
Fucking legend, man.
Right?
Yeah.
But he's the CEO reporting to Wall Street to millions of shareholders, right?
Right.
So how does he, and that's the challenge of an Elliot Hill being a CEO, of like, how do you serve the people? Which, by the way, and this is where I would approach it, because those people are also shareholders. Shareholders are also people.
Right.
So if you can get those shareholders to believe, right, back to that deep belief and how strong belief is, that your focus is them, and inspire them to believe in themselves that they are athletes too.
Yeah.
Asterisk.
Right.
Elite athlete, everyday athlete. Believe in themselves that they are athletes too, and then enable them with the product, the services, experiences to get on that pursuit and to find their inner athlete.
Yeah.
And because you have been a professional athlete, right? You know that And even if you hadn't gone to, if you decided to, to have gone business after, leaving Stanford instead of, continuing to pursue the sports, you would have taken all of that knowledge of what you learned in athletics and teams and sport and all of that and applied them to business. You still do.
Yeah.
So there's a relationship that Nike was building with everybody. And I've had thousands of conversations with everyday athletes, and even people that hadn't competed, but are now running, like they know what the relationship between those things. And so that people over profit and for Nike and how they approach and how Elliot's going to approach, and how I think he will be approaching, because it's who he is. But it is a challenge for a CEO.
Yeah.
But I think it's back to that belief of believing in yourself, getting the company, in this case Nike, to believe in themselves again. Yeah. But for the bigger goal, what's the moonshot, right? So when I was there, I knew so the first 10 years I was at Nike was Nike basketball, like epic, right? Like what an amazing era. I knew that my role was to design some of the basketball shoes, right? I mean, working with Scottie Pippen and like KG and amazing Gary Payton and Jason Kidd. It was amazing. I knew my role was that.
Yeah.
But I also, at the same time, just as clearly and impactfully knew my responsibility was that as the greater collective of the basketball team was to grow the culture of the sport.
Right.
I did not care. Honestly, I did not care if a kid found his or her way into the game. Hopefully, Nike was doing some things to create those pathways. But if they found the game and then needed to get some shoes, went to the retail, got some for however they got them, and they had 3 stripes on them. They had Adidas shoes. Fuck yes, love that. First experience with basketball, get you some basketball shoes. I did not care what brand it was. I want you to fall in love with the game. And Nike, and that's what we wanted, kids to do. Now my role and my job was to make sure the next time they go to, not so they've fallen in love.
Yeah.
The next time they go to get a pair of shoes, they spend a little bit more time and like, hey, which one am I going to get? Ooh, those ones I think are cooler than those. Or I like those both. They're 2 different brands. Let me try them both on. Then like, oh, well, these are the ones that, these feel better, these run better, whatever. Like that was my job, was to make that decision for help make that decision to help grow profit, to be able to put more into the opportunity to continue to grow the culture of the sport. That was underneath an even bigger umbrella of growing the culture of sport, which is what Nike was doing. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter who you bumped into. It was kind of like that proverbial story about JFK and going to the moon and bumping into the janitor in the hallway and like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, what do you? This is what it look like I'm doing. I'm helping get a man on the moon as he's sweeping the floors. That was the vibe at Nike. Didn't matter. And they have a challenge. People say that the shift, the cultural shift happened, by scale, and that happens all the time with big companies. I personally disagree with that. There are a number of different things that I saw happen and believe could have been avoided or just done differently. Because not everybody was an athlete. Dude, I competed in soccer because it was free and I could walk to practice. My father was a preacher. Mm-hmm. I had duct tape on my soccer shoes. Like, I got 1 pair of shoes a year for anything, for sports, school, church, and then the soccer shoes, toes going out the front of them because they had to last multiple seasons. Like, so that was my only competition. And I raced BMX too, but that was kind of a separate competition. But I played the game of basketball almost every day growing up. Yeah. And I say the game, I didn't compete in the sport. I played the game, right? Because you played the game too, right? You tweaked the rules like I did, right? We all did, right? Because we were playing the game. Yeah. so the competition of the sport is something different. And that to me, like that's also a little bit of the cultural shift that was happening and is still happening. And unfortunately, it'd be fun to get your side on this with the whole NIL and like now what is Nike's responsibility to bring back to bring back the opportunities and exposures
right.
of the games
right.
that to the youth so that and create the opportunities and exposures to enable those games to be organized into sports so the youth continue to play them.
Yeah.
But I'd say that the opportunities and exposures, we were talking about it earlier, right? With just recess.
Playing recess, yeah.
Right? So what is Nike doing, even if it's in its own backyard? I'm not just, talking about Nike, I'm talking about any brand that is trying to sell you a pair of athletic shoes. What are they doing to inspire and enable the activity that you're going to be doing those in? And like that is now, well, it's now Elliot's, and I believe I can say this about him because I know him and believe in him and what he does on his own, in his own time. So what I believe he's going to be doing for Nike is to create these opportunities and exposures and enablements for kids to be active and to do things. And then like, oh, now I need footwear and apparel to do them in. And he's got to lead, teams to be able to make the world's best.
Yeah.
And when I say world's best, both, design, form and function, the aesthetic and the performance, it's all symbiotic, it all fits together.
Yeah.
So that's the bigger challenge. So all the way back to the original question about like this purpose path that I'm on. Like that's my goal, is to help people get on a pursuit to find their best self. I believe athletics is part of that, play being the foundation of it. And then if you playing games that are then organized as a sport. And then, if you get fortunate enough and if you're gifted enough, up to a higher and elite level, but it's all a relationship with what I just call as athletics, or even broader human performance.
Yeah.
And I've had sport in my life and I know what that can do for people. But I would also get like just movement. Like I've been in situations where people ask me, what's it like working with, an athlete? Like, take us through the process, or what's it like? And I'm like, it's literally the same process as if I would work with a 5th grade student. And I don't even know what they do yet. I don't know if they even play sports,
right?
Or compete in sports. If they just play, or like whatever, like let's sit down and design a shoe. And first find out, like, do they want to design it? Is it a one of one for them? Or do they have an insight, like we talked about with Serena and Dominican, where it's a 1 in a million, like, oh my God, like that 5th grader has a really cool idea that is, I think there might be 1 million 5th graders out there that have like the same desire.
Yeah.
And we could create something, but that process is no different. And that's what I want to do. And I see human performance, like you start with the human body. I like have this vision of like how I go about creating, is starting with the human body, bare naked. And there's things that we can do to augment ourselves, by putting things on top of our body. And there's things that we do to put inside our body and things that we do with our body.
Yeah.
Right. To take us to wherever we want to go, whatever field that is. If I want to augment my body, on top of my skin to be able to play the game of football, and then augment my body with what I put into my body to be able to play the game of football, and to get to where I want to go, NFL, like there's a process to all that, and there's things I can do. That's no different than if you just want to, have a happy life and be able to comfortably and physically, painlessly walk to the grocery store. or
Yeah.
even drive to the grocery store, shop, get home, put groceries away. Like that's the same athleticism. So that field of play, whether it's your own home, your living room, or the NFL football field, I don't care.
Yeah.
I want to enable you to pursue and achieve your best self as an NFL football player. And that's why, like, sitting down with you when we did, give you everything I have in that moment to inspire you to like be able to like then take it and do whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah.
Same thing with anybody else I meet, and then what they want to do with it to be their best self. So that's my purpose path. I was blessed to have found a company, a brand like Nike that was on that same path.
Right.
And that we walked together, ran very fast together for 25 years. Right. And
It's a long time.
it's a long time, and I would still be there if I believe if there wasn't a shift.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to like, and it's hard, you know, because I got bills to pay, I got, you know, family to feed, and but to you know, back to like, you know, my own brand, my own values of like, and I'm fortunate enough to still be, you know, knock on wood, to, you know, have clients that find me, and, you know, but it's also like, there are opportunities that have been and currently are that want to do things that I'm like, feels a lot like a foot covering, right? Not a piece of performance footwear that I want to be a part of.
Right.
And when I say performance footwear, again, I don't care if it's a track spike for, you know, an Olympic athlete, or a cleat for a NFL football player.
Yeah.
That hopefully will then transcend down to a, you know, a kid, you know, just his first game of football. Like that was the power of Nike, and that's what I still want to be a part of. And I do have some of those opportunities. Or if it's a, you know, some people say is a lifestyle shoe.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a foot covering if I'm designing it.
Right.
No, like doubt. It's going to help you, it's going to help enable somebody, like, they're like, oh, that looks cool.
Yeah.
I see a reflection of myself in that product.
Yeah.
So I am attracted to it to go pick it up. Oh, wow, that feels cool.
Yeah.
Feels good. I've never felt anything like that before. I wonder what it feels like to go on my foot. I put it on, and I'm like, oh, like I can go places in these shoes.
Yeah.
Right? Like they feel like me. They feel like they inspire and enable me to go do what I want to do. And if that is go to school, be more comfortable at school, walk the hallway more proudly.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'm good, you know?
I love that, man.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think, like, you know, what you laid out is the unlock is for you has been to stay on your purpose path. And that was both going into Nike and coming out of it. You know, it was the, you know, staying on your path and staying true to what you want to accomplish, you know, what you've defined, and helping people realize the best version of themselves. And I love the idea of like building your brand around that principle in itself. And I saw you rocking the shoes that you
Oh yeah.
you helped design.
Well, that's actually funny.
Because
Speaking of the high school hallway,
this is an brand.
Yeah, no, it is.
Cooper.
And I purposely wore this T-shirt if it came up, because T-shirts are a conversation piece and Portland gear, and so
Shout out Marcus Harvey.
Shout out to him.
Season
He'd
2
be great.
guest.
Went on here too. So I designed these with that intent. Like I've been to so many convention centers of you know, volleyball courts, or as far as you can see, basketball courts, you know, been to high school hallways, and like getting kids in high school, or so students, high school students or high school athletes, more comfortable, feeling more confident. Like that's what I like. That's where these are at. Like some people might say they're just like, you know, mules, whatever. Well, great, you know, and mules are popular right now.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody's like, oh, they look soft, they look cool. Try them on. You know, we have to create those opportunities for people to try them on, which Marcus is doing at the retail. And then once they put them on, I want that like, ooh,
It's different.
these are kind of nice.
Yeah.
Right? Like it get
It's
that
not
little
your
bit,
run of the
get that little bit of like,
mule.
you know?
It's not a run of the mule.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, thank you. That's like top of the dome right there.
Let's sell that one to Marcus. But yeah, so this is actually a good example I was just walking through. So if I can help a student feel more confident, be more comfortable, that's my, that's what I want to do.
It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful, and yeah, like I said, you've inspired me and a lot of the work that I've done, and I'm glad to be able to have you in this space to do our best to try to bottle some of that inspiration that you have, and then you share it on your Instagram, and obviously are out in the community and people can talk and work with you. So you're giving that to the world, but I appreciate you being here to help us share with the world as well.
That's my part of my biggest challenge now is because Nike has a reach maybe bigger than anybody. And I had opportunities earlier on when they looked to designers or employees to share their story. I was very fortunate to be one of the few to be able to do that. So I have countless stories, and some actually are now employees at Nike that I met or reached out to me, wrote handwritten letters to me before email, wrote emails to me, then direct messaged me over Instagram. And one in particular, Chad Troyer, who would also be great on this, wrote me a letter in 7th grade, and yet he's now 34, and he's like an uncle to my kids.
Wow.
And so now my challenge is like, it's that reach, right? So Instagram, I have a fairly good reach on Instagram.
You've done a great job.
But I'm like, and
I saw it when it was like in the hundreds. And now I saw your account when it was in the hundreds.
Yeah,
now it's
23,000. Yeah. Well, but that's my
blessing.
That's where I don't know how, because honestly, like this is not like being in the spotlight is not comfortable for me. But I do it because I do want to help more people. I think I have some, and so how to be. And I don't have a ton of time. I'm not very good at Instagram. I don't have a ton of time to invest in it. So how do I try to find these opportunities to be able to have more reach? To connect with more people.
Well,
that's where I like. We're a more powerful collective, right?
100%. We're better together. That's one of our Big Yard Academy principles.
I agree.
So Big Yard Academy, cohort number 1 right here, class of 2024. But I appreciate you coming by, man. This is season 3 of B-Scar TV. So we're honored to have you on the show.
I love it. Thank you.
My dog. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Till next time, y'all.
Thank you.
Leave us a review. Drop a comment. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear? Who do you want to hear from? We would love to hear from you.